Hello everyone, if you don't already know, my name's Alana and about 6 months ago I knitted a Guernsey for my brother-in-law's birthday. I went into a shop in Whitby called Propagansey to buy some needles, and Deb, the owner, invited me to an annual exhibition she has in Filingthorpe this year, near Robin Hood's Bay, which is near to Whitby. Anyway, I went along and I was absolutely amazed at the amount of Guernseys on show from lots and lots of areas in Great Britain, and even as far as Holland. Anyway, I hope you get a good look at some of them. I do apologise for the camera work because it is shocking, especially the interview with Deb. Anyway, I filmed the exhibition first, then I did the filming of the interview. I aren't putting on what I have knitted because the interview takes quite a lot of time, so I'll post that next week. The Guernseys were incredible. Really, the filming doesn't do them justice, so hopefully if you don't get along this year you might get along next year. I also attended a workshop which was really enjoyable, but I didn't film that because it would have been too intrusive on the other knitters, but it was really nice. And the other thing is there might be a couple of breaks because each time anyone came to look at the exhibition I stopped filming as I didn't feel it was appropriate to film. Anyway, I hope you enjoy it. Right at the very end I've shown a shot of a little film of the view from the top of the Filingthorpe bank, and hopefully I can get another view looking the other way to Whitby. We've had some beautiful weather. It's really nice today again, but it isn't sunny, so it might not do it justice, but I'm going to try and get a little film of that. So I think that's everything. I hope you enjoy, and I'll see you next week with my knits. Bye. I'm on my way to the Guernsey exhibition, but I've just pulled in at the top of the hill that leads down into Filingthorpe and Robin Hood's Bay to show you the view. It's beautiful. Don't know if you can really see. Look at that. So that view over there, down at the bottom of that bank, is Robin Hood's Bay, and if I turned around and go past the church, I get into Filingthorpe, which I'm going to. So this is the old Georgian church that used to be used by the villagers of Robin Hood's Bay, Filingthorpe and the little hamlet of Raw before the new church was built. And in just after Christmas, winter time, it's carpeted in snowdrops, and then in spring there's another carpet of daffodils. It's beautiful. So yes, what a wonderful view. Right, off we go. Right, I've arrived at Propagansey. So in we go. This is just as we are greeted. Just turn my camera and in we go. Hi Deb.
Hello.
Right, wow. Goodness me, what a magnificent display. I will show you those beautiful Guernseys in a minute, but let's just look at some of the stock that Propagansey have. And the colours are absolutely beautiful. Really, really beautiful. Look at those. How amazing are they? Just take you along. Wow. Already inspired by these magnificent colours. And then we've got here the Frangipani range that Deb also stocks. Right, let's just go along and have a look at some. Some are so fine, the patterns are just beautiful. Look at all those ropes. Quite a plain one, but still equally beautiful. And you can see that as these have been knitted, I think it looks like they've interpreted their own and made their own patterns, used certain patterns and put it into their own Guernsey. Right, and just come along here. Look at that one. That one. There are so many to show you. Just go along here. And some have got the buttons up the neck. I think I showed you one of those in Whitby Museum. Look at that one, that's well loved, well worn. The pattern's beautiful. I think that's called the Tree of Life. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Right, we'll go along here. Lots of the navy blues are different navy blues as well. I guess it's, look at this one, where it looks like that's been mended and a different colour put on the bottom. It's so neat. I really like this one. I like them all. I think you're drawn to certain patterns.
Hello, you're back for more. You end up with the wool there.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's there, and instead of doing that before it goes through the loop, you're hooking it, and you've just got to practice it. This is like it's gone over a bump in the car. That's the nearest I can describe it.
Right. That makes sense, because Graham said that's what he did, and his knitting was very tight yesterday.
Yes.
And when you use the long pins, needles for your body, and then you go onto this.
I love this colour.
Yes.
Tight.
Yeah. And I forgot them again. I sometimes use a stick.
Oh, right, yeah.
Because again, it's just that you've got good attention.
Yeah.
When I did my first one, I don't know, I'm just lucky sometimes, I think. I don't know what I'm doing. But I put it out on the thing. I didn't want to use a 16-inch.
Yes.
That would overface me. I didn't need to because I'm not big enough. So I said, oh, can anybody lend? I can't find 14s.
Mm-hmm.
2 inches.
Yeah.
2 mil, size 16, whatever. No.
I don't know, are they 13s?
13s. Let's say the 14s. And this lady who'd maybe been following me on Ravelry or something, she said, yes, I'll lend you. So,
Right. Thank you.
Well, they came down.
Another one that's been well used. It's actually been darned.
But it was an old lady's house smell.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I smell that. Oh, I know. I feel quite at home with this. That's nice. And then into her.
Yeah.
Dear God. But when you get really that makes sense.
The lady who was at the workshop yesterday, the lady who did tongues, her knee was really wiggly. Did you notice it? Because, you know, it goes up your arm. No, I don't know. No, it's not anybody's name. But when my mother's needles, particularly the 13s, because she had held on her arm, they're every which way.
Yeah. But it makes sense
Yeah.
when you use them yourself. Yeah.
This one is definitely thicker than 5-ply Guernsey.
Listen to them.
So they didn't all use
It works, and if you get them the wrong way around, I mean,
5-ply wool. See, we've got another thickish one and a well-used one.
I've got, have you got little sort of needles here to use?
not
Totally different.
I've got loads of sort of needles, and I probably have got two somewhere. And I have got, like, you know, those cases with the holes in where you stick them in and then you can tell. So then you've got to know what the old sizes are, haven't you? So that's the 13s. I like this yarn from Wednesday.
It's nice, isn't it?
Oh, it's wonderful to work with. I knitted.
These are just some samples that Deb has done, and then another sample in a blanket form. So these Guernseys have come from all over: Cornwall, Scotland, the Hebrides, Scarborough, Flamborough, Filey, Sheringham in Norfolk, Robin Hood's Bay, Whitby Staves, and even as far as Holland. The display covers a century of Guernsey or Gansey knitting, and as you've seen, some are old and some look as though they've never been worn, but they are beautiful. I'm just going to show you this one on the model, and this was knitted by someone who was inspired by Notre Dame Cathedral.
Last night, we were talking about splicing, and I think some pesky.
Hi Deb. So
Hi.
everyone, this is Deb who started me off really on my journey, helping me with my pattern. So at long last I've managed to catch hold of her and we're going to do an interview. So Deb, how long have you been knitting?
My mum was an occupational therapist, so when we were small, we all got to do basketry, knitting, pottery, weaving around shoe boxes, elastic bands, all the kind of stuff. So I probably learned how the basics when I was quite small, and then I put it all away. And then years later, I met a drunken trawlerman at a party.
Nice.
I never looked back. And he was one of the best traditional Gansey knitters I'll have ever met.
Right.
Alf Hildred, hippie Alf. And I thought, right, the short story was that he was offering to knit somebody a Gansey. And so I thought about it, and I thought, yep, okay. So his story is that I badgered and howled and stalked him for 3 years. My story is it took bloody forever to get him to finish the damn thing. But that was my first one, and during that time I thought, right, well, I'll learn some stuff as well. And that must have been about 20 odd years ago.
And the rest is history, really.
And the rest is history. Yeah, I just absolutely love them. I think in this current exhibition, I've got ones from Cornwall, Holland, Hebrides, one over there. There's some commercial ones, there's some bonkers ones, a lot locally, fairly obviously. And I like them all for different reasons. If I had to grab 6 in an earthquake, I might grab one of the Dutch ones because they're rooted in the tradition, but they're using modern wools. Because I don't think there's probably hardly anybody in Holland at the moment that ever used to wear them,
Right.
So they don't feel constricted, like, oh, we must do them in the traditional wool. So they go, right, well, let's do it in Lopi wool, or let's do it in a pale blue, or whatever. And I think that's quite refreshing. Some of there are some veteran Ganseys here. I loathe the word vintage; it's been hacked to death. But there are some absolute veterans, and you look at them and the skill, and you think this was done 100 years ago, and it could have been done yesterday.
Yeah.
So the skills remain the same. If you get into something and then you think, oh, what if I try this? What if I try that? And so within the tradition, you can crack on. You can try it yourself.
Yeah.
That's why there aren't too many patterns, because you'd have your basic pattern that you knew yourself, like you'd know a cake recipe, and you might be very happy knitting a 4-banana Gansey, but if suddenly somebody says, oh, will you knit me a banana cake, I'm mixing the metaphors, and you think, oh, I'm going to need 5 bananas for this, but you'd know what to do.
Yeah.
And that's why there aren't a lot written down.
And quite often they were outside as well, weren't they, when they picked them up
good
outside?
Light.
And
yeah, those little cottages were quite dark.
Yeah.
So you'd want good light.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. Thank you. So, what made you want to do the research?
It just bit my bum. I just think that I like old things. I like proper old things. I like vaguely tribal things, something with a local feel to it. Why do they do it like that? I like the fact that you've really got to be an absolute go-hard disciplinarian with yourself for some of the time. Shut up and do it again. Do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again. And you think, oh, God. But then once you've absorbed all that, which you would have to do if you're going to pass your driving licence, for example, that's not huge, then suddenly you think, right, I'm all right with that. I know how to do that. I know how to do that. I'm not frightened by it. I've knitted 10 pairs of mittens and 6,000 hats. Right, I'm ready to start a Gansey. Okay. And then you think, right, I like these particular motifs. Is there a pattern? No, don't need one. Measure yourself, tiddle about a bit.
This is an expert speaking.
Yeah, but it's true. It's true. I mean, it's one of those things where the more adept you get, truly, truly, the easier it becomes.
Yeah.
So I could say to somebody, oh, you see that, and you see that, and you see that. And you might think, wow, that is a really dense pattern. For example, I'm knitting one at the moment, which is chevrons, diamonds, and cables. And when I first saw it, I mean, we can hold it up after and you can take a picture if you want, but I fought with this Gansey for ages, and eventually the penny dropped, and it's only a 6-row pattern.
Right.
It's only 6 rows, and every time you get to a pointy bit on the diamond or the chevron, you turn the cable. What could be easier than that? But I'm not telling a beginner that because I think I'm talking gobbledygook. But when you get good enough, you'll suddenly go, oh yeah,
Easy.
easy. And these Ganseys were designed to be knitted by people who did not have time to have a nervous breakdown. Just didn't have time. So they had to get it all as efficient as possible in the heads. So they carried it around. And I mean, like, if you're going to make a banana cake and you've got 5 bananas, okay, if you're going to drive home and they've dug up the road again, well, you don't panic. You think, oh, I'll just go around by little. Well, it's that part of your brain
And
where
I
you
suppose
think,
they
oh,
are
just
straight up, aren't they?
there's no shaping.
So there's no shaping.
Quite right.
So that would make it easier. Well,
Yeah.
I did think that when I was knitting mine.
That's right.
Yeah.
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 And once you set your pattern, it is pretty
That is
right.
it. Yeah.
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 And then there's little bits that you need to know, but
Yes. Yes.
they're not scary. It's just I won't tell you now because you don't need to know it now. But when you get to that point, you need to consider this. But yeah,
like the gusset when I was doing the gusset.
Yes, but it's only a pair of mittens. It's only the thumb.
Yes,
of a pair
but
of mittens.
when you first encounter that,
Yeah.
it's alien, isn't it? So,
Yeah. Yeah. And then you begin to think, oh, you begin to realise that maybe next year you're looking for meaning. You're not just looking at a whole room full of mucky old jumpers.
Yeah.
You're looking at something and you think, right, I hope they've got that one again next year because I remember there was that pattern and, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, there's not enough hours in the day, really.
No.
Yeah.
So, do you have a favourite pattern or Guernsey?
Not really. No, as I say, I like the old veterans because there's so much to teach you when you just look at them. But then I like busting out sometimes, and you know, there's a lovely Dutch one which isn't here at the moment. It's bright green. It's Lopi, big needles, big wool.
Yeah.
Definitely a Gansey. Looks absolutely gorgeous. So somebody said, "Why did you do that?" They'd say, "Well, because I could and because I wanted to."
Yeah.
And that's it. I have different favourites at different times. I look forward to seeing the old pals every year when they get sent down from like Anstruther or somewhere like that. And then other times they're new. Other times there's just a really good idea. Like, why not do a V-neck?
Yeah.
Why not put the buttons down the front and do like a placket? Just everything. I see something different every year.
Right.
Yeah, I haven't got a real, maybe one or two favourites, but not really. I like lots of them for different reasons.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And in the past, have you met lots of people who have knitted them? Older people. So.
I've met probably a handful.
Right.
Of absolutely proper knitting tradition in the fishing tradition, the whole lot, yeah. If I said half a dozen.
Right.
That would be
Because
it.
you really are keeping it alive, aren't you, the tradition?
Apparently.
And making it kind of come to the fore again, really,
Yeah.
because it would be terrible if it died down.
I can understand that as part of a fisherman's working gear, Ganseys aren't, they're gone. I mean, you've got musto jackets and different stuff, and nobody's got time, weirdly, to knit these anymore now. We've got all this whiteware and labour-saving devices. But I think there are so many life skills that are really important, like crack on, give it a go, don't give up.
Yeah.
If you can do this, you might want to do something else. You might try a little bit of knitting and think, God, well, I never thought I'd be interested in that. But clearly, I've got stickability, and if I can do that, maybe I ought to be able to do something else. So it's a universal skill. If you get angry with knitting, don't put it in a corner and go and muck out the rabbits. It's time management. It's all sorts of things. I just think there's very little that I don't like about knitting. You end up with something to show for it.
Yeah.
It's perfectly peaceable. It's interesting. It's a bit like maths. You could be more creative if you wanted to.
Yeah.
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 And there's always somebody around who'll say, "Oh no, do it like that."
Yeah. Yeah. And it's nice now though that knitting seems to have come back into fashion, doesn't it, with the social media basically.
Yes.
And lots of people are dyeing wools, and now Propagansey, you've got not Propagansey, Frangipani, you've got those beautiful colours,
Yes,
and you've got
lovely
that
range of
wonderful
colours.
range of colours.
Yes.
That there's no reason why it shouldn't
Give it a go.
take off again. Yeah.
Yeah.
So on that note, why not give it a go? People?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Give it a go. Yeah.
Yeah.
The exhibition's open
And-
till Sunday, the 22nd of September.
Yeah, so come along
Come
and
have a look.
see the wonderful exhibition and buy yourself some wool.
Buy yourself some wool. Bring your knitting. Sit and have a go.
So you're on Facebook, aren't you?
Yeah. Propagansey.
Right. So anyone who's interested, go to Propagansey. And thank you very much, Deb.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. Thank you.
So this is the view looking towards Whitby from Filingthorpe. I don't know if you can see the Abbey, but it's absolutely amazing. Spring, summer, autumn, winter, amazing view.